Welcome back to BrandsTalk, a show to help you develop and grow your brand in a more authentic and sustainable way, locally and globally. Whether it is your personal brand or company brand, your product or service level brand. Learn from thought leaders from different parts of the world, from CEOs, business owners, managers, experts who tell their brand stories and share their valuable first hand insights. My name is Brigitte Bojkowszky. I'm the founder and owner of Brigitte Brands, a branding strategy boutique offering online courses, workshops, one on one exclusive coaching. I help my clients and students craft meaningful strategies that effectively elevate their personal and organizational brands so they unleash their full potential and shine. Let's get started and dive with me into the world of brands. My guest today is Natalia Zacharin. She is the founder and owner of Zacharin Consulting, a firm dedicated to empowering businesses to understand their financial health and give clarity so they can significantly improve their bottom line. Natalia brings her expertise and knowledge to clients by blending personal service and expertise in a meaningful way. Zacharin Consulting offers strategic bookkeeping, monthly accounting, remote CFO services, and financial intelligence programs to help businesses thrive, stay organized, save time, and give them peace of mind. Zacharin Consulting is always on top of the latest economic trends when it comes to cash flow forecasting and analysis, budgeting, sales projections, and accounting support for tax planning and tax remediation. Zacharin Consulting's mission is to offer valuable insights to help clients in navigating the complex landscapes of entrepreneurship. I warmly welcome Natalia Zacharin. Welcome to BrandsTalk.
Thank you, Bridget. I'm very excited to be here.
So excited as well having you as my guest today, Natalia. Yeah, could you tell us a little bit about your background, about your own journey that brought you right there where you are now?
Yes, I always think it's interesting that many entrepreneurs have a journey where they have a significant challenge in their life, and then that becomes their passion. And so that is part of my history as well. About 10 years ago, I was a stay-at-home mom. I went through a divorce. It was a bad time in the economy. I couldn't get a job. So I was really struggling financially. And then when I got a job in the corporate world, the problem was because I hadn't been employed for a couple of years before that. And I'm considered middle aged in the corporate world. I'm in my 50s right now. But even back then, 10 years ago, I was in my mid 40s. So it was very hard to make enough money to even really live comfortably. And so I was struggling. I was left with a tremendous amount of debt from the divorce, and barely had enough money to even make my mortgage payment. And my mom had to help me. It was really hard. And so, also, the job that I did end up getting, it took a couple of years to find a job, but the job that I did end up getting didn't see me as potentially uh, an with options to grow. They kept kind of downsizing my responsibilities and downsizing what I was making. And so I was pigeonholed into a certain position and I couldn't really grow and I couldn't find another job. It was just like this entire difficulty with finances that I had, getting into debt and just not having enough money. So I started my own company to give me more freedom. And what I do is part of what I do is to help people get out of financial difficulty. Whether most of them are entrepreneurs, so I pretty much work with all business owners.
So you started 4 years ago in 2018. Uh,
Yeah.
yes. And what exactly, I mean, you said you wanted to have more freedom, but what exactly made you do this bold step into entrepreneurship from being a corporate employee into starting something totally new, something that you own, something,
Mhm.
oh, it's without a net. You are out there all by yourself. So, what made you make this bold step?
I think I was desperate. I didn't even know it was an option. And someone mentioned to me, why don't you start your own business? And a lot of people start their own businesses because they have a passion. I started my business, and I'd like to tell people also, you don't have to necessarily have a passion. You can create something out of nothing. And that's what entrepreneurs do. They create something
Mhm.
out of nothing for many different reasons. You don't have to feel like you have to be really good at something. But someone mentioned to me, maybe you should start your own business. And I thought, oh, well, maybe I could do this on the side to add a little bit of extra income.
Mhm.
And in 2018, I started reading about it and looking at and interviewing people and connecting on LinkedIn with people. And then my first client landed in January 2019. And then after that, I was working at night and weekends while still holding down a full time job
Mhm.
and being a single mom. And I decided after getting a few more clients, I couldn't do both. And so that year in 2019, on right before my 50th birthday, so it's never too late. So right before my 50th birthday, I quit my
Mhm.
job. I just couldn't sustain both. And I think I had enough momentum. I only had 4 clients at the time and definitely not enough money, significantly less money than even what I was making or what I needed. But I had the momentum that I started realizing that I knew that I can get more clients. And so I quit in August 2019, right around my 50th birthday. And then by November, I tripled my business.
Mm. Yeah, that's a very safe way to start a business, having your income from an employment and starting out small. And then when you see, okay, I can't do it both anymore because it's
Yeah,
becoming too much, and you know, okay, I can get more clients if I continue like this, and then to let go of the employment and fully concentrate on your own business. This is very
yeah,
smart, instead of starting quitting a job and starting something else, because then it's really scary to be out there, yeah, living from nothing, maybe from the savings. So it's much safer to still have that job that is out there. All right. So what are you exactly offering? I mentioned already in the introduction that you are um, in, in financials. So you're using financial intelligence programs to help your clients. So what are you doing exactly, and who is your client exactly? How do
yes,
you bring both together?
yes. So we do a lot more than just your typical accounting firm. We focus on the accounting side of things and CFO advisory services. uh, and we work mostly with business owners. Although a lot of business owners, it carries over into their personal life also. So we look at a bigger picture, and it goes everything from the setting up of the accounting. We specialize in QuickBooks Online. We can move people into QuickBooks. We can clean up their QuickBooks. We can catch up. We offer training, and we do the monthly services. But what's different, and a lot of people aren't interested necessarily in that, what's different is that we evaluate what's happening in the business. We really understand what is happening in the business owner's life and in their business. We ask a lot of questions so that we can work independently.
Mhm.
And when we do advisory, we set up the information. So like the accounting and the bookkeeping is just a means to an end. And that's where most accounting stops, is with that. But the whole reason behind the accounting and bookkeeping is to evaluate what's actually happening. So you can see trends. So you can ask, what is happening? What do you want to happen in the future? Where are you headed? Are you headed in that direction? What does it look like? How to make little corrections in what you're doing so that you don't end up making a really big mistakes. Because in financials, it's not where you are today, it's the trend of where you're headed. So
Mhm.
if you're not keeping track and not paying attention, you don't have an opportunity to see what's just around the corner and micro correct before you start having issues. And the issues could be lack of, losing sales, could be you hired too many people, you can't make payroll, could be you're not profitable, you're spending too much money, you don't have the right pricing in line. Maybe it's an entrepreneur, and this is very typical, where they're doing everything in the business and maybe they need to price it a little bit differently so that they can hire people. Could be that that you're doing great and you have a very high net income. And when is a good time to do some tax strategies to start reducing your tax liability, and everything in between. So we gauge and we monitor what's happening so that we can understand, taking into account what's happening in the present and what the business owner wants to happen in the future. And we
Mhm.
set those goals and targets.
Mhm. So are you servicing and helping companies that start out, or where are they in their journey? Revenues of 1 million upwards. So where, who is exactly the client when it comes to the size of the company, and um, yeah, whether they
Yeah,
are established companies or just or starting out?
great question. So both. We do work with a lot of startups. We help with setting up everything and explaining. And sometimes, if they don't want to continue working with us because they're just starting out, we do some training and send them on their way. I have found that QuickBooks is a very powerful software, QuickBooks Online, and a lot of accountants don't understand the software, and a lot of QuickBooks people don't understand accounting. And so we know both. So we can take the power of the software, make sure it's done correctly, really use and streamline and automate as much as possible so we can bring a lot more value to the table, and then we teach that. So that's what we would do with a startup if they don't want to continue. And then we have companies everywhere from startup to multi-million companies, and anybody based in the US. So we even work with people in Europe, but they're based in the United States, and we work all over the United States with anybody. So pre-COVID, we've always been virtual, and we set everything up to collaborate and be able to work with them. So really anybody who wants to have a little bit more visibility of what's happening, and make things a little bit better. Um, I would even say for a startup or for anybody that is using or doing their own accounting, it's not the best use of their time. So it's a great thing to go ahead and hire someone to do for you, and
and
that way you can do what's more impactful.
and outsource, and yeah, using the time for something that you have your major strength as a business owner. That's what it is all about. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so what are some of the common pitfalls businesses fall into that you have been able to help them with? So what I've learned now is to getting the software and the business owner to connect, to understand, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And is there anything else that you think that are some common pitfalls that businesses fall into that you can help with, or that is very common? Just
Yes. Very, very common that the business owners are not, and don't even know how to read the financials to understand what's happening. That's a very common pitfall, that they're not looking on a regular basis. It should be monthly to really evaluate their profitability and evaluate what's happening. That's actually very important. Because like we mentioned, if you're trending in the wrong direction, you can't catch that in time
mhm.
to make some micro corrections along the way. Or if you have some big goals, it's great to set those targets, and to be able to evaluate if you're getting to those targets. So those and those are some of the pitfalls, is not setting those targets and not evaluating. Another pitfall is to leave the accounting to a family, someone in the family, or hire an office clerk, and consider it as data entry. Bookkeeping and accounting is not data entry. It's actually a lot more complicated. So what we get a lot is books and information that is not accurate and it's done incorrectly, that could be a huge error because, first of all, you don't see what's happening in your business, but second of all, you're not paying the correct amount of taxes. So even if you're underpaying in taxes, if you ever get audited, they'll see mistakes and you'll have to repay anything that you underpaid plus penalties. And then they'll go deeper and deeper into many more years. So once you're on their audit list of a red flag, the IRS will keep auditing you. And then if you're over, and then the other option is if your financials aren't correct, you're probably overpaying in taxes. And so we see both. And we have a lot of case studies. For instance, we worked with a client who hired us in 2019. So we've been working with him since the beginning, and he just got audited for 2018 and 2019. He owed nothing for the year that he worked with us, and he owed $40,000 for the year prior when he worked with someone else. So we have a lot of case studies for just staying out of trouble and helping people understand what's happening and reach their goals, because the whole point of entrepreneurship is your vision and your goal and what do you want in your life.
Exactly. So what is your vision? Do you have a vision statement?
I do. So I don't have a really good vision statement, but my vision is the same as it is for myself as it is for my clients. I want to be able to live a life with financial freedom and abundance and put out good into the world. I really, truly believe that money has an energy. And because money is no longer really backed by anything significant like gold, money is now more of value based. Mm-hmm. So it is an energy. It's giving out a lot of value. So you bring value back. So it's an exchange of value. And so I want to bring a lot of value into the world for people and to help them live their vision and create good and do what they want to do with their lives, and including for myself. So I hope to have financial freedom, have time to spend with family and friends, live in a nice place comfortably, not have to worry about money, just like everybody else wants to do. Get out, not be in debt. I do help people get out of debt as well. We work on what should you be paying yourself, how to fix your credit. I don't do credit fixes, but we talk about how to, what you can do and how to get out of debt, or how to use debt strategically and reinvest back into your business, and basically how to build wealth and build your net worth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a long vision. So, do you have any pieces of advice, especially for women who want to start their own business? Because you have become so successful after such a journey. It was not an easy journey. So from perspective, what are some tips for women businesses that are just getting started? How can they be their best, already having a vision, but from the vision going forward?
Yes, I would say it really makes a difference to have to surround yourself with the right people. You want to surround yourself with people that are already maybe at that level that you want to be at, because that level then becomes more comfortable. So if you're thinking that I want to make 5 figures or 6 figures in a month, you want to surround yourself with people that are making 6 figures, so that becomes comfortable for you. What's interesting is that once you get comfortable with that number, like once you get comfortable and start hitting $10,000 in revenue a month, it's not that far off to start hitting 20,000, 30,000. Like you just become more and more comfortable with it. Having a mentor, I do work with. I have mentors. I'm in a mastermind. Listening to what the mastermind or the mentor tells you, because a lot of it feels like it doesn't feel right. It almost feel like when they tell me like how to sell to people, I feel like, oh, I'm being salesy, and this is not part of my personality, and I would never do this. When I don't listen, I don't move the needle forward. When I do listen, the needle moves forward. And to have a different perspective on sales. So sales isn't about being salesy. Sales is about someone out there is looking for you, either your service or your product, and they need you. So it's a matter of finding them. Exactly. And so sales is very important. So mentorship, sales, reading a tremendous amount, and stop standing in your own way. Get out of your own way. Just keep going forward. A lot of people give up. It's consistency. It's the little things every single day, the boring things, moving the needle, talking to people, selling. It's that boring everyday stuff. You just don't stop. You keep going, and it's a roller coaster. It's hard.
It's a roller coaster, and as you say, the consistency, having the perseverance to just no matter what, you continue going. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, in line with that, was there any setback that you, maybe a major setback that you had to overcome, and what you have learned from most that helps you now being a
Yes.
better business owner?
There were a lot of setbacks. I think one of the biggest setbacks since I became an entrepreneur was the imposter syndrome of thinking. So we have stories in our heads of who we are or who we see ourselves as, and a lot of those start in childhood. And the difference between where you are in reality and where you thought you would be, the bigger that gap is, the harder it is to recover from that gap. So not having, an opinion of where you should be. I thought, I'm in my 50s. I thought I'd be married. I'm single, by the way. I thought I'd be married, that I'd have I was actually told, yes, you need to have a college degree, but you don't really have to work because your husband's going to take care of you. Well, that didn't happen.
Oh,
So I had to change those stories. And so the imposter syndrome starts happening, especially when you become more successful. You start thinking, oh, this isn't me. Maybe not even that I don't deserve it, but like, how is little me getting to this point? And so you have to really work through that. There's a great resource called What to Say When You Speak to Yourself, or What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. It's a great book. So the words, I had to really change how I talk to myself. I
yeah.
think that was the biggest thing. And there were many setbacks, but the difference between my life is a lot more complicated and a lot harder than it's ever been before, but I struggle a lot less than I ever have before.
Yeah, it's the self-talk that we have to be very careful about every day, and remind ourselves that it can be very unhealthy. So we have to control that, what we are
Yes.
telling ourselves every day. Yeah. Natalia, is there anything that you would do differently now when you compare
Yes.
yourself let's say, 2 years ago when you started?
Yes. I think I'm in the sun. So yes, absolutely. Um, I would say that I would have more confidence. I wish I had more confidence when I started. I would have priced things out maybe better in the beginning. We all undervalue ourselves.
Okay, so you mean you should have priced higher?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's
Uh,
happening a lot.
I think that's one of the biggest pitfalls, especially when people are starting out. They don't price high enough, and with taking into consideration that if they want to hire, they won't be able to afford anybody, so they can't scale. So I think that's a matter of confidence and understanding what you bring to the table. I also think that you have to kind of grow into that. So you have to learn, and maybe the first year, and you learn a lot, especially in your first year. And every time something happens, don't consider that as a setback. Like, oh, I had a client that didn't pay me.
Ah,
So now I know I have better terms and agreement, and I have. So every time something happened, I thought through without having an emotional reaction. Thought through how could I do this better for the next time, and so I had to,
it's a learning process. Really
yes,
learn from the setbacks, more the hard ones. Oh my God, I should have thought about that. And this is something then very specific that you remind yourself every time. Don't forget about this and that. These are the hard
yeah,
ones. Yeah, but they are important.
Yes. And I wouldn't consider that as really a setback. I think that's the other thing. Don't beat yourself up. You're going to
Yeah,
make mistakes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's part of the learning process. Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Is there anything that you are passionate about your business? Because you are dealing with a lot of numbers and doing the accounting. And what is so interesting about it that you become passionate about it?
Yes, I love numbers. I actually see the world in numbers. And, and uh, I'm really passionate about it. And what's really exciting is when I work with someone and they're at a certain level or they need help and I can see the changes being made. Um, so for instance, I had a client that we started working last year together, and they were their net income, so that means their bottom line, they were at like a negative $100,000. That means they lost over $100,000. Literally, if they had never been in business or shut their doors, they would have been ahead.
Hmm. Hmm.
Not a reason to give up. However, they hired me. I reached out and they saw me and they hired me. And at first, they were all arguing with each other, and it was very complicated. And it was a group of owners, and the main owner wanted to leave, and so we started working on things a little at a time. Just learning about what they're doing, about what the problems are. I was talking to all the different departments and tweaking little things a little bit at a time, because you can't tweak everything all at once, because it's very overwhelming, and then you don't know as you're changing things how what that what's going to happen afterwards. You kind of have to tweak a little bit and then see what happens, and then tweak a little bit more and see what happens. So we've been working together now for a year. They were at a positive 50,000 in net income that they ended this year. So they've increased in more than $100,000 in getting into a positive net income. They're happier. They made some changes with who is working for them. We keep changing things, and like now it's fun and it's great to for me, that's a huge passion of mine, is to take a company and really work with them and help them to get better and better and better. And you don't have to be in dire straits to work with us. You can be in a great position and still there's so much that we can do. It's fun, and we can bounce ideas off of each other and talk about, like, well, how do you want to retire? What's your exit strategy? So we're all going to exit, right? We're all going to somehow exit our businesses. We're either going to sell them, leave them, or we're going to leave this world. So we talk about fun things like that too. Like, what are you going to do? Maybe you can sell your business. How to make it more valuable? What does that look like?
Hmm. Hmm. Wow, that's all very interesting. And you have mentioned before that trends are so important. Do you see any trends going forward in the, let's say, 1, 2, 3 years?
Yes, I do. I think it's becoming more and more important to do a lot more evaluation and forecasting, looking forward into the future a little bit in the next 6 months to a year to 2 years, and modeling what that looks like, changing it as it goes,
Mm.
and modeling what that looks like, because it has become the economy has always been and will always continue to be very up and down. So this way, it'll help you prepare,
Mm.
help you have a little bit of extra cash on hand if that's what you need. I think if the pandemic taught us anything, it taught us that we had to be very flexible, and we had to pivot and make changes quickly. And those businesses that were not profitable and that were not making money couldn't even get help.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you need to help yourself constantly, and constantly, have your eye on that. So I think that, right now we've got inflation, for instance. So your money, if you have just cash sitting in your accounts, you're actually losing money.
Mm.
So there are a lot of variables. You do want to have cash, but you don't want to have too much cash.
Mm.
You want to put it into different buckets to build wealth. And so I think the trends are going to be forecasting, understanding what's happening, understanding where to put your money, to save up and to build retirement funds, maybe buy real estate. Real estate's great
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
It's not great to buy, but it will be soon. So there's just a lot happening constantly. And there are a lot of changes in the tax in what's happening with taxes
Yeah, yeah.
constantly.
Thank you so much for all the tips and your forecasting. It's so interesting, but we are almost at the end of our time. So before we close, I would love to do a quick word wrap with you, Natalia. Is that
Yes.
great? Okay, wonderful. Accountant.
Someone that helps you foresee the future and see the trends in what's happening.
Mhm.
Give you clarity.
Okay, entrepreneurship.
A roller coaster that is worth every minute.
Yeah, that's true. It is worth every minute. We learn so much with that. Setback.
An opportunity to do better, to learn, to not consider it a setback. It's not. It's a setback is an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Empowerment.
Empowerment. I would say understanding what's happening, feeling comfortable, being confident, and leaning on others, such as a mentor or outsourcing or whatever you need to do
Mhm,
to learn.
mhm. Good. And brains.
Brands, a way to distinguish yourself and bring value to the world. And how are you different from everybody else? And if you went out of business or if you disappeared, who would miss you?
Oh, that's great. Wow, wonderful. Natalia, if someone wants to get in touch with you now after our show, I'm quite sure about that. Where do they find you?
Yes, so I am on social media. So first of all, I have a website, www.zacharinconsulting.com, and my contact information is in there as well, as well as my email address. And you can book a time with me. My calendar link is there as well. You can find me on Facebook under Zacharin Consulting. I have a Facebook page, and then I have an Instagram account under Grow Your Bottom Line.
Mhm.
Uh, and then I'm also on LinkedIn under Natalia Zacharin on LinkedIn. So any of those places you can find me and reach out to me.
A lot of touch points. Good,
Yes.
Natalia. Thank you so much for being my guest today on Brand's Talk. It was a pleasure having you here to learn about financial intelligence programs that help businesses thrive and how you have helped businesses thrive. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you all for joining Brand's Talk today. Give it your social love and leave your comments below. Did you know you can also listen to the show as a podcast on your go? Then just follow BrandsTalk on your favorite platform. And if you're interested in learning more about my services, head over to my website, BridgetteBrands.com. I hope you will join me again when we dive into the world of brands live or by having me in your earbuds walking the dog. Bye for now. Let's shine. You deserve it.